Greetings humans, HylianMailMan here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different and discuss a comic book I read recently. Don't worry, we'll get back to the cartoons next time. I just thought it would be cool to mix things up a bit. Besides, comics are basically just cartoons that require a little more imagination. So the Sentry is a Marvel Knights limited series from the year 2000 that depicts a superhero forgotten by everyone, even himself. One stormy night, he awakens with the realization that his arch nemesis will soon return, and only he can stop it. The story unfolds as he convinces his former friends to remember him in preparation for the final fight. He quickly convinces his closest of friends, Reed Richards, to join him, but together they discover that there might have been a reason they forgot about the Sentry. And on that note, this video will spoil the full series, so be sure to read it before watching this. It's a great series that I would highly recommend, but what I want to talk about today is the fact that I believe the first issue could have stood on its own as a one-shot, and the story might have even been better for it. Now, this opinion stems from the fact that I'm the sort of person who likes an open-ended story. Is Harrison Ford a robot? Was Leonardo DiCaprio just taking a nap the whole time? Why do Sam Jackson and John Travolta want that orange light bulb so bad? Leaving it up to interpretation is just more intriguing to me than being spoon-fed all the answers. Reading issue 1 this way works so well that I can't help but think it was done on purpose, as it sets up this type of story perfectly. When the story opens, the realistic art style works as a visual shorthand to portray Robert Reynolds as a regular middle-aged man living with his wife and dog. However, as Robert recounts the days of his youth, the comic switches to a classic Steve Ditko-esque art style. This invokes the reader's suspension of disbelief towards superhero tropes, as he tells of his arch-nemesis the Void, his canine sidekick Watchdog, and the super serum from which he derives his powers. This illusion is shattered by a return to the gritty, heavily shaded art from before, when Robert's wife suddenly walks in on her husband, relapsing into alcoholism. The super serum is a hidden flask, Watchdog is a regular pet, the Void is a simple thunderstorm, and the man with the power of a million exploding suns is but a broken soul with delusions of grandeur. As the reader ponders as to which version of the story to believe, Robert steps out into the storm, cape close-pinned to his jacket. Then, insisting one last time to himself that he really was a superhero, he slowly rises into the air. So was he in fact a superhero, or was his final flight only part of his delusion? Obviously, the answer comes in the following issues, ruining the potential cliffhanger ending. The dueling art styles still serve a significant purpose in the full story, but instead of forcing the reader to consider multiple interpretations, they instead create a dichotomous tone, resulting in a story of Golden Age superheroes being robbed of their happy, simple lives and thrust into a gritty, modern age story. Like I said before, it's still a good story, I just think less would have been more for the Sentry. And to further that end, I would even say that shortening the series to a single issue would have eliminated most of my complaints with it, the biggest of which is the ending. Just after the big reveal that the Sentry and the Void are in fact the same person, this brand new fact is immediately deus exed out of being a problem by having them split into separate beings via throwaway line. The doom and gloom the series has built up is suddenly dispersed, with every loose end wrapped up just a little too conveniently. To be fair, there's so much tension in the build-up, I don't know if there's any way they could have given the series a satisfying ending, especially with the limitation of being in continuity with the main Marvel universe. Which of course leads me back to my original thesis of the story being better without a proper ending. Now, of course, a cliffhanger ending would have robbed the Marvel universe of someone who would become a key player in the coming years, but from a purely narrative position, I feel the Sentry would be more artistically sound as a single work than as part of a massive universe of pop culture, though it would also have probably been overlooked in that scenario as well. I by no means claim to be a better writer than the professionals behind Marvel Knights, and I still love the Sentry as is, both the original work and the further adventures of the character. It's just interesting to sometimes look at things in ways other than how they were intended. Until next time, HylianMailMan out.
And in this moment, second stop, and I burst into clarity. Wealth, love, and hate gone blank. For I finally remember my fucking name. Are you box? When I breathe wind, been around the world, then back again. Lost the static, the train's gone. I have the power of a million exponents.
The humanoid must not escape.